Hi there, you've read the title. This is a top 10 list of things many musicians don't do, but they should, and vice versa. It's something I've learned through years of hard knocks and gaining experience, and I'm going to share it with you today. First, an honorable mention. You can think of this as number 11. GAS, Gear Acquisition Syndrome. Don't think that buying huge amounts of gear is a major aspect in moving you forward in your music journey. Owning huge amounts of gear is only valuable if you're using it. It won't significantly add to your abilities. I am happier now with about a dozen keyboards and 2 modules, and I really need to do another purge because I still have more than I use. And I don't have all those keyboards in my studio right now. Many of them are under beds. I understand the appeal because I hear it from my best friend constantly. I know he'll probably watch this and roast me in the comments, but here goes. Jeffo, just bought the best synth ever. It's called the Hydrasynth. Okay, Brian, I give it a year. Dude, that's so rude. I'm never getting rid of it. It does everything. Okay, that's what you said about X and Y and Z and A and B and C. Dude, that was different. I don't ever see me selling it because it's so flexible. And of course, he called me 3 days ago to tell me he's selling it. So I wanted to get this into this episode. It did last more than a year, so congratulations, Brian. I'll give that to you. Many people fall for the hype, but it wears off quickly. It's a lot like opening Christmas presents. The promise of opening that shiny new box and pulling out that machine and doodling with it quickly fades when you realize that it's just really not as good as the hype. Number 10. Most musicians are followers, not trendsetters. If I had a dime for every time someone told me that people tell them they sound just like Taylor Swift, or compose just like Hans Zimmer, or some other famous person comparison, I'd be a wealthy guy. It's okay to learn from other people, but go your own way. Do your own thing. Blaze your own trail. Number 9. Learn how to program analog and digital synthesizers, or at least the keyboards that you own. Half the people I know who have several analog synthesizers don't know how to effectively program them. They just use the presets. They don't even tweak parameters because they don't really know what they do. And if they have a DX7 or other FM synth, chances are they couldn't program you an EP from scratch to save their lives. I'll be the first to admit I'm not the best at programming my DX7, but I've tried with varying amounts of success, and I am pretty good at programming analog synthesizers. There are many who are content to play presets on a DX7, which is a huge disservice to an amazing instrument. Number 8. Learn your hardware and software inside and out. We're all guilty of not squeezing every ounce of goodness out of the gear we already own before we move on to buying that next shiny button. That's why people end up with a bunch of synths that all do the same thing or have a huge amount of overlap. Back when Brian and I were building out our studios, we would read every word in the manual 6 times and squeeze every ounce of functionality out of gear. We had to. If an instrument had 8 voices, it was incredible. Today you get 60 voices for $500. I haven't used the device in multi-timbral mode in 2 decades because I have an incredible amount of sound generating technology. Number 7. Learn song structure. I've been to hundreds of song screenings. Other than creating a quality demo, song structure is something that many people have never learned, and it hurts them. It hurts them a lot. I blame the MPC type machines where people will string a bunch of random patterns together and think they have a song. Maybe they do, but it could be better with a little knowledge of song structure. Number 6, join a band. It's one of the most rewarding and frustrating music adventures you can have. Playing music by yourself is great, and we have a lot of tools to really enhance that experience, but grooving with other musicians isn't just fun, it's a skill. And I think it's one I've probably lost since I played a lot in the 80s. Haven't played much live in recent years. Number 5, learn to play another instrument. It will stretch the boundaries of your music skills. If you're a songwriter, a composer, it will take you to places you never thought to go. Your goal doesn't have to be to become a virtuoso. Just enjoy the ride and use what you learn. Number 3, collaborate with another musician, songwriter, composer, producer, someone with an equal level of skill and interest as yourself. Let's be honest, we're all kind of ego-driven to some degree in the art of music. It can be hard to share that ego spotlight, even when it's self-generated. Maybe you don't want to do it because you think it will expose your weaknesses to the other person. So what? You're going to learn things from them, and they're going to learn things from you. I guarantee it. For about 30 years, a friend and I recorded songs together. We pooled our equipment and experience to be better than either one of us would have been alone. We tried writing together, and that actually didn't work out. But we both had great input into each other's songs, and we were better for it. Number 2, practice every day. And I mean the basics, scales, just chords, just basic stuff. Whatever instruments you play, I guarantee you there is someone better and someone worse. You shouldn't try to be better than anybody. You should just try to be better than yourself. And that is why you should practice every day. Number 1, big breath, drum roll, learn to read and write music. It is such a valuable skill, and it opens up so much to you as a musician. It's also an incredibly hard skill to acquire. Some ability is better than none, and sometimes a little learning turns into a lot of learning. It can be infectious. There are many famous artists and bands that don't read or write music. The Beatles, Taylor Swift, Hans Zimmer, to name just 3. And learning to read music hasn't hurt them. So why bother? It's a personal choice, but I still highly recommend it. Music is a language. It enables faster communication. And there are so many advantages to being able to read and write music. Hopefully you found something in this episode to take your music to the next level, because that's what I intend. In many respects, this is a list I try to live by, and it's serving me well. I didn't create it when I started taking piano lessons at the age of 5. It's been a journey of decades, and sadly, some of it didn't solidify until quite recently. If you have anything to add to the list, I'd love to hear from you, especially if it will be helpful to others. Thanks for stopping by. Take care. I'll see you in another episode soon.